Hey guys, what's up? It's Savannah. Welcome back to another episode of My Thoughts Exactly. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. If you're new here, hi, my name is Savannah. I'm your host of My Thoughts Exactly. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That way you never miss an episode. We post weekly here on the podcast every single Friday. You're not going to want to miss it. We also upload the video version onto YouTube on Fridays as well. So make sure you are subscribed. With that being said, you guys, happy Friday. I hope you've had a great week so far. And if you haven't, guess what? It's Friday. It's the weekend. You did it. You made it. Happy Friday, you guys. Me personally, I've had a pretty good week thus far. I feel like I haven't actually talked to you guys in so long because I know last week we did the interview with Dr. Rollins for Air Sculpt, which was so amazing. And I just feel like because of that, I haven't talked to you in like a hot minute. I feel like it has been way too long and I'm just so excited to sit down and chit chat with you guys today and just girl talk. I feel like I need it in my soul and I am just so excited. The vibes are hitting right today, you guys. It is cloudy outside. We have a fall candle in the back. If you're watching me on YouTube, you can see it in the background. I believe, what is that? What is the scent? Copper leaves and spice. I gave myself a little bit of a pass because I went to Kirkland's, which if you don't know is like, it's like a home goods store. They have the cutest things and everything is always on sale. So I went there and it was like I walked in to fall. Like I entered the store and it was fall. Like fall was there. And I got a couple candles because I was like, I'm here. I have to. So I got 3 candles, the copper leaves and spice being one of them. And I love it. It just makes it makes the vibes feel so right. And so we have the candle going. Also, I have a little tea right here with 2 tea bags in it in my Killer Instinct mug because your girl is like coming down with some sort of something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a sickness, an illness, an allergy, something. My immune system, you guys, has never been the strongest. And I feel like everyone I know in my life is like sick, getting sick, was sick. Both of my parents just had COVID. I'm not around them at all. They're in California. I'm in Tennessee, but they had COVID. Hayden like was feeling under the weather last week. I didn't feel it until today, which I'm very glad about, but I'm now feeling it and I don't love it. So that's that on that. That's why we have 2 tea bags of throat coat, which 10 out of 10 would recommend, and the cute mug. 10 out of 10 would also recommend that as well. But for today's episode, you guys, I am so excited because like I said, I've missed you. I just want to chit chat and catch up. And I posted on the My Thoughts Exactly Instagram page, which shameless plug for the 13,700 time. It is just at My Thoughts Exactly podcast. Make sure you go and follow just so you're up to date with everything on the podcast. I'm always asking you guys questions. It's where What Would Sav Do's go. It's where any poll goes for like what you guys want to see on the podcast, any segments you want to see. It's all over there. So I asked you guys what you wanted to see. I gave you 3 different options and this one won by like an overwhelming amount, which is very interesting because I thought it was going to be the least voted for, which is a Q&A. And it's not a What Would Sav Do? I know we've done a lot of those lately. It is just simply a catching up Q&A. You guys have questions and I'm here to answer them. It's more so just like a general Q&A about myself, which feels very odd. It's very weird to me to be like, ask me questions about me, because it's like, who cares? But I guess there's some things that you guys want to know that I should have the answer to. I hope. I haven't looked at the questions yet. But anytime I just get to chit chat and catch up with you guys, it's like my favorite thing ever. So I'm very excited for today's episode and to answer some questions because I do feel like we talk a lot about just like general life. I answer a lot of your guys' questions for the What Would Sav Do's, but I never really talk about what's really going on in my life despite like the intro that we do when I give you guys like my weekly updates, but it never goes into like the broader questions of life and, you know, milestones and different chapters and XYZ. So that is what we're going to do today. So without further ado, let's jump right on into these questions. Okay, we're starting from the very beginning. How long does it take for you to put together an episode of Killer Instinct, research, recording, etc.? So I'm sure most of you know that I have a podcast, or I have another podcast. Obviously, we have My Thoughts Exactly. And then I have a second podcast, which is called Killer Instinct. It's a true crime podcast. I've been doing it for, I believe, 5 years. I think we started in 2019 and it's now 2024, which is 5 years, which is absolutely wild. But I was doing true crime content a little bit before that. I think I introduced the true crime content onto my YouTube channel before any of the podcasts started, about 6 months in. to my YouTube channel, and that really opened me up to a much wider demographic of people to be able to reach, which was amazing. And not only am I super passionate about true crime, it just all of the pieces landed together. So that's kind of the little tidbit of in the background of the true crime stuff. But yeah, we started Killer Instinct in 2019, and it really truly depends on the case. I get this question a lot from like friends and family who are like curious about the podcast. They always say like, how long does it take you? And the answer is that it varies week by week, but I will give you an example. So last week we did, or this week technically, we did the Jodi Arias case. So Jodi Arias is a massive, massive case. It's one of those like, again, it depends on how much information is out there. In the Jodi Arias case, there is a lot of information out there. There's a lot to go through. There's a lot to comb through. There's so much information. And so it's about finding the right sources. It's about finding, the right and correct information. So for a case like that, it took me a couple days of research, and every day was probably like 5 to 6 hours. You go through, I'll watch documentaries, different documentaries. I'll watch, YouTube videos. I'll look on different articles, and I'll piece things together and use that information to present my own. And so that would take a couple days to just collect all of my research. And then we typically record. I like to record. It really depends on the week. I like to record on a Friday typically, and then I will send everything over to my producer, Travis, who is amazing. Hi, Travis. He's listening to this right now. And I'll send it over to Travis, and I'll either do that or this week was different. I recorded today on a Wednesday, the same day that I'm filming My Thoughts Exactly, because it is just a different type of schedule this week. So I'll film. Filming typically takes me anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours. Jodi Arias took me about 3 hours, or like an hour, 2 hours. Like from the time I sit down to the time I'm done, about 2 hours. Cause there's like getting up in between, there's changing camera batteries, there's changing, like sometimes I have to go through and delete SD card things. So long story short, it really just depends. It depends on the type of case, but typically all in all, it's at least 2 to 3 days of research and then one day for filming. So about 4 days, typically. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Again, it just depends. Okay, moving on. How did your feelings evolve in your relationship from the beginning rush to now? So, my current relationship, if you don't know, Hayden and I have been dating for about 2.5 years. It'll be 3 years in November. And I always say it's like, I feel like the timeline of our relationship was very interesting because everyone talks about how in the beginning there's this honeymoon phase and everything's amazing and great and exciting. That was not the case for Hayden and I. And I feel like because of that, it made me have some sort of like a tainted view on our relationship. Like in the beginning, I was wondering, like, is this not right? Because, we don't have that honeymoon rose colored glasses, or at least I didn't. I was very much a pessimist, and I was, proceeding with caution. And there were a couple different factors that contributed as to why it was a little bit of a rougher start for us. So, because of that, I will say that my feelings in the beginning were not as strong. He definitely had to do some, and this is like total props to him. He had some persuading to do. He asked me to be his girlfriend 4 times before I said yes. And I will say we are in probably the best place ever right now. We are so happy. I am so happy. My feelings have only grown. And I feel like in the past with my relationships, it's been like a super hot and heavy start, and then it like downward spirals over time. Where I feel like with Hayden, we started out like kind of in a rough spot, and because of that we had like a lot of building to do. There was like a lot of foundation that needed to be put down. There was a lot of like TLC that needed to be put into the relationship for both of us to feel very confident in it and both of us to be in a really good spot. And again, at the time I was like, is this right? Because like, why am I putting in work in the beginning? Why is he putting in work in the beginning? Like, maybe this isn't the right thing to do. But I stuck it out because I just like had a really good feeling. Like in my gut, I was like, I know that this is right, even though it's like not how it's, portrayed in movies or TV shows. Like no one really starts off bad. Like you don't hear about that. Like you don't hear about anyone saying like, oh yeah, it was really rough in the beginning and that's why I stuck it out. Like, no, I knew that I really liked him, and I knew that there was really something there, and that's what gave me the confidence to stick it out. But at the same time, it was a little bit of a gamble, but I knew I was going to figure it out sooner or later. But it gave me a little bit of hesitation, I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, because I was like, maybe this is, no one ever talks about this being the beginning of the relationship and like it being complicated and complex. And I also think a lot of that had to do with my own insecurity and my own trust issues and, a lot of things that I hadn't fully dealt with yet, but also some of it had to do with him as well. So I will say I think that my feelings for Hayden had only gotten stronger and have only continued to grow stronger since the very beginning, and I can confidently say that, and that's very different from the relationships that I've had in the past where, again, it's like a really hot and heavy start and things are like, we're on fire, firecrackers, like not firecrackers, fireworks, and everything is going great, and then the rug gets pulled out from underneath me, or then things just go sideways. And so that's really how it differs. I'm not here to say that you should always stick it out if things are rough in the beginning, but I think everything just depends and it's all circumstantial and situation to situation. um but that's really the big difference that I've had in this relationship versus the other ones that I've been in regards to my feelings. My feelings for Hayden have literally only grown since the day that I met him, and I can't even imagine like how it's going to continue moving forward. So, that's what I would say about that. Okay, so this one's kind of similar. How does your relationship with Hayden feel different than your past relationships? So, despite everything that or on top, in addition to everything that I just mentioned about like how we started in our relationship, I feel like one of the really big main differences for me personally is just like our communication. I have never had good communication with a partner, quite literally ever. The relationships that I had with the people that I dated prior to this, it's been so horrible. It's been like, bare minimum, if at or if any at all. The communication was very, very poor. And so, because of that, I've always just really never thought that healthy communication was possible. And it really was a surprise to me when I realized that Hayden and I communicate very, very well. We don't fight. Like, that's not a thing. And I know it's a crazy thing to say because I never really believed it. We have disagreements for sure, but we're able to talk through the disagreements that we have. Whenever I'm talking to like my family or my friends about it, I always laugh because I feel like it's such a movie scene how we talk through our disagreements. It's like, I feel like this and this made me feel like that. So how did it make you feel? And then I'll be like, I feel like this. And it's honestly sometimes like comical to be like, this is really how we resolve things, but it's so healthy. And I think that that's the biggest thing that I can say too in comparison to my previous relationships is that my relationship with Hayden is so freaking healthy to the point where sometimes I'm like, I have to like what is it? I don't know. Some sort of trauma response, I'm sure, that makes me want to like shake things up and be like, you know, mm, I don't know. That's probably a horrible thing to say. But when things are going too good and you're like, why are things going so well? Like, why is everything going so smoothly? Is this for real? That's the feeling that I've had a lot throughout this relationship. And I've had to stop myself from like questioning that because I just have had to come to realize that I deserve good things. And this is like a message to you guys too. Like, we deserve good things. We deserve good relationships. We deserve to be with good people. We deserve to be with people that make us happy and not have to question it. I have never once had to question if Hayden loves me ever. Like, ever, not once. And I can't say that for my past relationships. If anything, I had to question if they even liked me, if they even wanted to be in my presence, let alone like love me. Like, I've never had to question Hayden's love for me ever. And that's something that's really, really special and something that really differs this relationship to the other ones. And I've never questioned my love for Hayden either. Not once, not ever. And I don't think I ever will. What do you do when you're really bored and nothing sounds appealing to do? This is when I will turn to reality TV. I have been on a very big reality TV kick lately. If you're watching the vlogs that I've been putting out, you would know this. I have been loving all of the Real Housewives, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I've watched that 2 to 3 times over the entire series front to back. I am now on Real Housewives of Dubai and I already watched those 2 seasons. And so now I'm on the Real Housewives of OC, but there is quite literally 37 seasons to this thing, and it started filming in 2006. So if anyone else has watched this show, like if anyone knows the Real Housewives of OC, can someone give me a good starting point that's somewhat in the middle where I'm not going to be completely lost? Because to have to start watching a show from when it was filming in 2006 is quite literally insane. I don't think I can do it. I tried for an episode or two. I can't do it. So that's that. That's like one thing that I like to do. Other than that, I like to work out. If I'm like really, really bored and I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go in the gym because Why not? And if I'm not going to go to the gym, I'll go on a walk. If not, I'll just like call people. I'm really big on just calling people when I'm bored, like call my mom, call my brother. I'll call anyone who answers, anyone who will listen. Those are the things that I like to do when I'm bored. But honestly, I've been really trying to embrace boredom, which again sounds like a refrigerator magnet, but like I have just realized I'm like, okay, I don't know how many more years I have left of just like being bored. And so I'm going to embrace it and I'm going to allow myself to have a rot day. I'm going to allow myself to just like watch TV for hours on end. I have this game on my phone. Okay, I'm not a gamer whatsoever, but there's this one game that I love to play. And I can't believe I'm telling you this. It's called Cooking Fever. You're essentially a chef in a restaurant, and there's like so many different levels. And I've spent way too much money on this game. So much money. It's embarrassing. And there's all these different restaurants that you go through, and there's like 35 levels within each restaurant. And when you go through each restaurant, you're like unlocking other restaurants. It is a downward spiral. It sucks you in, and I probably shouldn't be recommending it, but I love playing that game. Or I like to read. But lately, I go through phases. Right now, I'm on Cooking Fever because it is just so much fun. So, those are the things that I like to do when I'm bored. Top 5 summer jams right now. Oh, this one's for all my playlist girlies. Okay, number 1, Boat, Camila Cabello. Best of all time. It's a bop. Take a listen. Number 2, Hurt My Feelings, Tate McRae. It's fire. Take a listen. Number 3, going up here, trying to see what I have. Guy for That. Post Malone, Luke Combs. Love it. Also, the Post Malone, Blake Shelton song, Pour Me a Drink. Fire. Let's see. What's a good one after that? I feel like this is a lot of pressure. Oh, you know what song I've been loving lately? That's Why We Fight by Ella Langley and Co. Wetzel. 10 out of 10. I know it's a random one to throw in there, but it's really, really good. Take a listen. So those are the ones that I would say as of currently. Is your boyfriend ever going to be on the podcast? Yes, probably. Probably not when he's just my boyfriend though. I will say that. I talked about this in the vlog a little bit that you guys haven't seen because it's not out yet, but I explained kind of like my thought process when it comes to, and by the way, I'm sorry that a lot of these have to do with Hayden. If you're like, I don't want to hear about Hayden, I get it. But also you guys asked the questions. But I explained in the vlog how in my last relationship, I feel like I was super open in public. Like I was posting him constantly, posting pictures constantly. If you know in that era, then you freaking know. Like it was out there. Everything was out there. We were doing vlogs and he was in, challenge videos with me. And again, it was a very different era of social media, or at least my social media career as well. But I was very, very public with him. And I felt after that relationship that I did not want to be public with my relationships anymore because that relationship ended horribly. I've never gone into detail, or maybe I have. I've never gone into full detail. I know I talked about it a little bit. I think on this podcast we did an episode about it, but you guys, I have never gone into the full detail of like everything that happened in that relationship. It was so toxic. It was so horrible. And I wish I could go back and shake myself so many freaking times and just like wake myself up. But there was a lot that happened in that relationship that really was just like an act of betrayal, and it was really like transformative for myself in many, many ways. But it was horrible, and the things that he did were absolutely horrible, and I felt really, really betrayed. I felt like I was embarrassed because I had put our relationship on such a pedestal and, put it out into the world. And I was, saying all of these things and I was like, oh, you're so great. And meanwhile, it was like behind closed doors. It was just, I was getting like stabbed in the back over and over and over and over again. And I just felt like I did not want to be put in another situation where I was so out there and loud about my relationship when in reality, what was happening underneath the surface was a lot darker. And I just didn't want to put myself in that position again. And that is why I have refrained from really showing Hayden on any of my platforms. I mean, I think there's like 2 pictures on Instagram from like last year. And that's about it. I know some of you guys follow him on Instagram, which I think is so cute, and I love that. And it just makes me really happy when I do see that. But I think that for me personally, part of the reason that I haven't posted him is because I just went through so much shit with my ex-boyfriend that I was like, I'm not doing this again. Like, I'm not setting myself up to be embarrassed again. What I've learned through actually being in, again, as I said earlier, a healthy relationship is that, and this is again one of the differences between my relationship with Hayden and my other relationships in the past, I'm not holding my breath anymore. Like, I'm not holding my breath with Hayden, like thinking that something is going to go wrong, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I trust him. And, you know, if I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not even going to like try and jinx it or speak anything bad into the universe. But I do want to, you know, start to share more of him on here, and I think that that would be something that would be really fun to do and just a different element to bring into the podcast, at least like a podcast episode. Like, why not? And he would be so down to do it too, and I would love for you guys to just have more of an more of a look into that part of my life, because again, I think for a while I was really ashamed of what happened and just embarrassed. But I don't have to be embarrassed with him, and I'm not embarrassed with him. I'm so happy, and I just feel like it is someone who I want to share with you guys as a part of my life. I do want to share with you guys because I feel like I can't be completely open without sharing that part in a way. But I've just been private. I haven't been secretive. I've just been private, and I do think that that's the main difference. I do think that he will come on the podcast to answer your question in a very long-winded answer. Yes, I do want him on the podcast, but it again will probably be once he's out of the boyfriend title. Okay, moving on. Do you think that the world of social media has changed since you first started? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that that goes honestly without saying. I think that the world of social media has transformed since I started social media in 2017. So just to give you some context, I started in 2017. It was the YouTube era, it was the lifestyle era, it was the story time era, it was the drive with me era, the playlist video era. That was the era of YouTube that I entered into. And now we have seen so many different platforms rise, and we've seen so many different content creators come out of social media, and content creators becoming celebrities. And, you know, the outlets that we're using, they look a lot different than they did when I first started. And I think that it has transitioned a lot over the years. And we went from long form content to short form content with TikToks. Now TikTok is allowing you to make 10-minute videos, so longer form content. It's a very, very different world, you know, podcaster in quarantine, even now podcasting, like I feel like everyone has a podcast. I think, which is, I might be ironic and hypocritical to say, but I do think that social media has transformed tenfold since I have started. And I think that despite all of it, I'm not good. This is what I've realized. I'm not good with keeping up with the trends of social media. I'm not. I know it works for me and I know what I like. For me, I'm always going to be a long form content girly. I'm always going to be a vlog girly. I'm always going to be like probably in my podcasting era. And that's what I like. I like doing the drive with me's here and there, which was a lot of the questions, by the way. When are we getting a drive with me in a playlist video? Soon, I promise you. Probably next week when I start to feel a little bit better. I've been back on like my vlogging stuff lately, and like I've been back kind of like trying to introduce the lifestyle content again, alongside Killer Instinct and My Thoughts Exactly. So I think I can confidently say I want to try and get one out next week, or at least film it next week. But yeah, I mean, I think I know what I'm happiest in doing, what makes me feel the most fulfilled, and that is the long form content, YouTube videos, connecting with you guys through YouTube and through, you know, Instagram. And, you know, I know I've taken a step back with Instagram, honestly, a lot too, just because I feel like the joy in it, the joy in just like posting just to post has kind of gone away. And I feel like, again, because there was a time in my life where I was so public with everything that I was doing and everything that I was posting, I'm kind of now the opposite. And I don't want to be as public. Not with you guys, because I feel like, you know, you guys have known me so well, but it's like, I don't want to be posting like on Instagram all the time. And like, I don't want to be posting where I am, and I don't want to be posting what I'm doing. Like, I feel like with the My Thoughts Exactly Instagram, this is why I like that Instagram so much too, is, and it's actually in the bio of the Instagram. I say, welcome to the private story, because I really do feel like I can treat My Thoughts Exactly and the platform that we have here as almost like exactly that, like my close friend story, my private story, because like you guys have been here since the very beginning, so many of you, and I feel so connected to you and I want to keep that connection, but like without the pressures of having, what social media can bring sometimes. And I go through phases. I think everyone does, but yeah, that's kind of how I feel about social media in general right now. But the long form content for me is here to stay. All right, moving on to the next question. What do you do when you feel like you're in a depressive mood? What helps you? This is a very good question because I feel like, and I know it's kind of early to be talking about this, but as we are creeping towards the fall and winter months, winter specifically, I am someone who definitely struggles with like, what is it, seasonal depression. I think that that is such a real thing. I didn't have it when I lived in California because obviously it's California and that's like not a thing. But here, when it's cold and snowing and gray and like all of the things back to back to back, it definitely gets to me. So I've like really tried to think and kind of be proactive about getting ahead on some of that because it tends to just creep up. And once it's here, it's here. But then also, I have my moments where I'm randomly in a rut or I am in just like a depressive mood and there's no real rhyme or reason as to why. But the things that I've done that really help this is just kind of acknowledging it is the first part. And that might be like a no duh to some of you, but I also think it's really important and kind of easy to dismiss. Well, I don't think it's important to dismiss, but I think it's easy to dismiss these feelings and be like, oh, like I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Like I was the queen of that for so long and just like suppressing my emotions and just being like, I'm just going to bulldoze through it and say that I'm fine until I finally am. But I realized that that was a lot more damaging to me and my mental space, as well as just like the people around me. If I didn't acknowledge that, like, hey, I'm having a hard time right now, or hey, I'm just struggling right now, then no one around me could help. And that was another big thing, is asking for help from the people around me. So specifically for me, that's Hayden. Like I really lean on him during those times, but also I find ways for me, like myself, to feel better. And really that starts with any sort of movement. I've noticed like the first thing that I will do if I am in a rut or I feel like I'm in a depressive episode, I will move. I will move my body, and it doesn't have to be like a crazy workout. Something that I've found that's been really helpful is stretching. I just feel like a totally different person after I do this, and that just might seem very minimal, but honestly what I've found in these times of feeling like I'm in these depressive episodes is that my like sometimes it's the littler things that help the most in the long run. So stretching for me is a big one. 30 minutes, just doing like some stretches, laying down a mat, and like really just dedicating that time to slower movements and just like moving my body, reminding myself that it's such a privilege to be able to move my body. That's the first one. I also take an everything shower because I always feel like I just feel better, like no matter what. It's not going to help. It's not gonna, like it does help, but it's not going to like cure it all, but it makes me feel better. So I like to do that. I lean on the people around me. I acknowledge what's going on, and I also remind myself that this is only temporary. The depressive episodes that I'm feeling, the sadness, the rut that I'm in, it is temporary and it's not going to last forever, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So for me, that's what I like to do. I also will have my favorite comfort meal, which is spicy vodka pasta. I will go for like long car rides and just play my favorite music. I will watch my favorite TV show. I will clean my house because even though I don't want to, I prefer being in a clean space because it makes me feel better. All of the little things that I like to do, I will do them. All of my comfort things, wearing like cozy sweatpants and a sweatshirt and just all of my favorite things that I love to do, I will do it because it inadvertently will make me feel better. Even though it might not cure everything, it's going to make me feel better for the time being, and that's good enough for me. So, that's kind of like what I like to do. And also, again, the big thing that I want to remind you is, it's not going to last forever. It's temporary. What you're feeling is temporary, but also acknowledge it, understand that it's there, and be willing to ask for help from the people that you trust. What changes have you noticed within yourself since switching to the Aura Ring from birth control? Now, interestingly enough, and I could actually do like a whole episode about this because it has been a year I got off birth control last year on August 15th. It's now August 7th when I'm filming this. So it's almost been a year of being off of birth control. And that is an episode that we could do where I really give you a deep dive into everything. But what I will say for now is I feel great. And I am so happy with the decision that I made. I definitely am glad that I got off of birth control just for so many different reasons. But I just am really happy that I don't have, I'm not on birth control, and that's all I'll say, and I'm just really happy. Everyone's different, everyone's body is different, how everyone processes things is different. For some people, birth control is the best thing ever. For me, that just wasn't the case, which is part of the reason I wanted to get off of it. I made an episode last year when I got off of birth control talking about some of the reasons as to why, and I'm really, really happy that I did it. It's been something that's been very beneficial to me. I love the Aura Ring. The Aura Ring is amazing. I don't wear it throughout the day. Typically, I'll really only wear it when I go to sleep, and I connect it with the Natural Cycles app, and that is basically how I track everything. But to me, it was such a great decision, and I'm not going to like recommend it to everyone because everyone is so different, and I think that that's a decision that you need to come to on your own for yourself, and like personally, it's such a personal decision. Talk to your doctors, like figure that all out. But for me personally, I'm very, very glad that I went through with that and made that decision. Oh, and as far as what changes I've noticed, I feel a lot more clear-headed. I feel I feel happier. I just overall feel healthier. So those are just some of the changes that I noticed within myself after not being on it for a year. But again, let me know in the comments if you want like an entire yearly review and yearly recap of what it's like not being on birth control for a year. What have you done this summer so far? And what's been your favorite experience? That's just such a fun question. So, in the beginning of the summer, my family and I, as well as Hayden, went up to New York. That is where we're from, and that is where Jackson lives. I grew up, if you don't know, I was born in New York, was raised in Connecticut, but constantly going to New York throughout the entirety of my life. And so, we went up to New York and had such an amazing time. Honestly, such a core moment and core memory just because my family and I hadn't been together in New York for the longest time. So being able to do that was truly incredible and truly amazing. And being able to show Hayden, it was Hayden's second time in New York. We had gone prior in December, but it was a different season. It wasn't Christmas anymore. It was him seeing it in the spring/summertime, and the weather was amazing. We went to so many amazing restaurants, had so many like just fun moments. And it's truly a trip that I will always, always remember and always, always cherish. So that was something that I like can't put a name, like a price to that. Like that was such a core memory and something that I will always cherish for the rest of my life. So that was one thing that we did in the beginning of the summer. And then after that, in terms of like trips and stuff, Hayden and I went to the Bolt Farm tree houses. I talked to you guys about that. I also did a vlog on it, so you can go check that out. That was also an incredible experience. Very different, but just so much fun. Another core memory. Definitely go look at the vlog if you wanted to see some of the footage from that. Other than that, we've spent a lot of time at my parents' place out a little bit outside of Nashville, and we have gone there for pool days and barbecues, and that's been so much fun. I spent a lot of time at home also, I'm not gonna lie, because this weather is too hot and it makes me not want to do a single thing. I do not want to step foot outside of my house because it is too warm. So I've been hibernating inside, and I don't mind it whatsoever. It has been very, very nice. So a lot of time has been spent inside as well. I'm trying to think trip wise. Oh, I did have to go back to New York at the end of June for a work thing that I can't mention yet, but that was really exciting and it was an incredible opportunity. So very excited about that. We had the first podcast guest of ever in the history of My Thoughts Exactly, Dr. Rollins. That was exciting. We did the 4th of July, which was amazing. I spent that with my family, and there's just been so many fun moments, honestly. But if I had to choose one, I would say the New York trip in the beginning of the summer because, we had my family, we had Hayden, everyone was there, and it truly was incredible. So that was my favorite. But thank you for asking. It's definitely been a fun-filled, jam-packed summer. How did you save the money to buy a house? A girl is struggling out here. Well, I can tell you right now, I don't own my house. I have been renting. Hayden and I have been renting for 2 years. So this is our second, it's actually 2 days ago was our second anniversary of living together, like our second year anniversary. We moved in August 5th of 2022. It's now August 7th of 2024. So we have been living together for 2 years. We moved in together very quickly. We moved in after 9 months, which in my opinion is pretty fast, but we've been living together now for like over 2 years or exactly 2 years. And we have not obviously bought a house because we've been renting. I did see a question about like what our timeline is for houses and when we want to buy a house. For me personally, and Hayden and I have agreed on this, we want to buy a house right before we get married. That's kind of what our timeline is, just because we already live together and we do want the beginning of that new chapter of like being married to also come with a new chapter of living together as well. And I feel like it would bring just a new level of significance into the home and just a fresh start and a fresh chapter all the way around. Because I do know that sometimes when people are like, oh, well, you already live together, we practically are married. It's like, I want to graduate out of this house. I feel like this is our dating like our dating phase house. Even though this house is incredible, it's such an incredible home. It's where we brought church home for the first time. There's so many core memories that have been created in this house, and I will cherish it forever. I definitely think, and Hayden and I agree on this, that we want to have a new chapter start like once we get married, and that will be a new house. And that whatever house that is, that will be a house that we buy. What are your favorite places to go and things to do in Nashville? Give the locals perspective. So I think it's very clear that Nashville has a lot of drinking, there's a lot of bars, it's very much a party scene. However, there are things to do outside of that. My favorite things to do in Nashville that do include kind of like the bars, the nightlife. Some of my favorite places to go are LA Jackson, Mother's Ruin. I love a good I'm in my restaurant era right now, so I love a good dinner and drinks kind of deal, but I love Barcelona. Barcelona's amazing. I'm trying to think where else, like dinner wise, that I love. Anything in the Gulch, Virago is incredible. San Anejo has amazing spicy margaritas. What else? Oh, Ophelia's is great. Church and Union is great. Those are kind of like my top ones. I feel like there's more. I feel like I have other ones. I need to go on. There's an app called Belly, and I have been using it to like keep track of all of my restaurants that I use in Nashville. There's definitely better ones. Oh, Hall's Steakhouse, amazing. Cane Prime, amazing. Bourbon Steak, amazing. Those are my top dinner spots, I would say, as of right now. I think I'm missing a few for sure because those just kind of feel like the easy ones to mention, but I know that there's probably a few that I'm missing and it's going to drive me nuts. I personally love getting outside of the city. That's like my favorite thing to do because Nashville is so hustle and bustle. It's Bachelorette Central. I'll be driving on a Tuesday on the road and there's a party bus right next to me at 10 a.m. and it is just a lot sometimes. So I like to get out of the city. I love to go to Franklin. Arrington Vineyards is amazing. It's a really nice thing. It's like 40 minutes out of the city and it's just a fun experience, especially with the weather hopefully cooling down within the next 2 months. It's something that I would definitely recommend. Oh, one of my favorite bars that's like a really fun spot. It's like a bar slash arcade slash bowling alley. It's called Pins Mechanical and it's so much fun. I think that that's what it's called. Let me double check. Yeah, it's called Pins Mechanical. If you're like looking for drinking plus an activity, go there. Or if you just want to do an activity, they have arcade games, bowling, they have some food. They have like an outdoor slide area for kids too. It's not like it's a kid-friendly place, but like there's other kid-friendly places, so like don't just go there for your kids. But that's really fun. Also 12 South is amazing. Anything on 12 South, walking 12 South, there's some really fun shops that have opened up. There's great restaurants over there. Really fun spot as well. So I definitely think that that kind of gives you a good baseline to work with. If you're looking for like stuff that maybe isn't as touristy, I would go into Germantown. Germantown is a really cute area. They have a great restaurant called Pilato. It's Italian tapa style, fantastic. So those are my top recommendations as of now. If a crystal ball could tell you the truth about yourself, your life, your future, what would you ask? I probably, because I'm such an overthinker, I probably would want to see what certain aspects and scenarios of my life would have been if I had done things differently. I don't regret anything that I've done and I would choose the way that I've done things time and time again, but I would like to see how my life would have turned out if I chose things differently. Like if I didn't move to Nashville or if if I'd never met Hayden, which would be horrible and I don't want to know what that I would be very sad. I know what that would look like. But I would like to see what my life would have turned out to be if I didn't end up where I was. Like if I again like never moved to the city, didn't leave California, And again, I think I would just be very reassured that everything I did was the right decision. But I don't want to know about my future. Like that, I don't want to know about. And I think that that's why I would rather know things about my past because, again, my future, I would rather that just like be a surprise. Just wanted to say hi and that I'm thankful for you. Your videos always cheer me up. Well, hi. That's so sweet. Thank you. That makes me really, really happy. I love you guys so much. What are your top three favorite movies? Oh, okay. The Proposal, Sandra Bullock, Ryan Reynolds. I love Wedding Crashers. I think it's hysterical. I also love Father of the Bride. I love, oh, what's a good, I like scary movies, but they freak me out. But if I had to choose like a scary movie that I wanted to scare someone, I would choose Hereditary. I also love, oh, a Cinderella Story. What am I talking about? Cinderella Story, Hilary Duff, Chad Michael Murray. Amazing. There's more than three, but I hope that that answers your question. All right. Have you ever had to go no contact with a family member or best friend or a boyfriend's family member? Sorry. If so, why? Personally, I have not had to sorry, I can't speak. Personally, I have not had to go no contact with a family member or a boyfriend's family member. Luckily, I've never been in a situation where I have had to do that, and I can only imagine that that would be extremely difficult and something that would be very hard to manage. I definitely have had to set boundaries before with boyfriends, family members specifically, and that's always just uncomfortable and it's just a weird situation all around. So I can only imagine how, again, like uncomfortable and just unfortunate it would be to have to go no contact completely. So I am very sorry if that's the situation you're going through. Me personally, I have not, but my piece of advice that I would give you is you clearly, you got to trust your gut with things like this. And if this is the right decision for you, then stand on it. Like stand 10 toes down on it. If this is going to benefit you, your family, your partner, the future that you guys have together. If you have someone in your life that is toxic, whether it's related to you or not, remove them from your life and be confident in that because I think that in the end you will be very happy. What are your go-to meals? Oh, okay. My go-to meals, like I said earlier, I love a spicy vodka pasta. That to me is like 10 out of 10. I love Hayden cooks such amazing salmon. So like once or twice a week we'll do salmon and I either will eat it as it's prepared or I will put it in a bowl with rice and kind of make like a poke bowl style thing. Not a poke bowl, but like a salmon bowl style. Throw some edamame in there, spicy mayo, 10 out of 10. What else do I love? I love sushi. Sushi is incredible. I love Mexican. I am still trying to find a good bean and cheese burrito in Nashville, Tennessee. If anyone knows of any, please let me know. I feel like I was so spoiled in San Diego with just getting like the best of the best Mexican food. Like there was little like restaurants on every single street corner and they were all so amazing, like the best Mexican food you'll ever have. And we just don't have that here. So I am still on the hunt, but it has been quite the journey. Those are like my favorite. Those are my comfort. Those are like my things. There's also this restaurant here called Eastern Peak that has incredible they have this thing. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but it's like a chicken curry thing and it is so good. You put it on rice and it is insane. I used to order it way too much like 2 years ago. I would order it maybe like twice a week. It was a problem. But those are like my top meals for sure. Okay, and then the last question that we're going to talk about is what is your and Hayden's timeline for marriage, kids, etc. I don't know about marriage because that really is up to him. It depends on when he's deciding to pop the question, but I will say kids, if I had to guess, like if I assuming everything all goes smoothly and you know, God willing, everything goes the way that it needs to go, I would probably say 3 years, 2 year no, 3, 3. I think we can do 3. I don't know. You guys, I have no idea. Timelines like this stress me out, but within the next 2.5, 3 years, and we'll still be on this couch and we'll still be talking about it. But yeah, I mean, timelines like that, I think that you can never really plan for things like that, but that's kind of like our tentative idea of a plan, like our very loose blueprint, very loose outline. That's kind of it. But yeah, marriage, I have no clue. No clue. When I know, you'll know. How about that? We'll say that. But with that being said, you guys, we are going to end it here. Thank you guys so much for chit-chatting with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Very low-key, very just like chit-chatting about life, chit-chatting about what's going on. But again, I hope you enjoyed. Again, if you're new here, hi, my name's Savannah. Again, if you have not already, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss an episode. We post weekly on the podcast every single Friday. You're not going to want to miss it. I'll be back next week with a brand new one for you guys, and I will see you there. Bye, guys.